This is Greens Lake. Google Maps calls it Green Lake, but the Goulburn Murray Water website calls it Greens Lake. I've always called it Greens Lake. It looks big, but it's not. It's actually tiny. At the moment, it's got about 30% of Lake William Hovell's total storage in it, even though it looks about 10 times the size. It's very big and very shallow. Now, Greens Lake, a couple of years ago, Goulburn Murray Water decided that they'd stop pouring water into Greens Lake. They didn't want to use it anymore, they don't need it, so they've decommissioned it. There were pumps over that side of the lake that were pumping water out of the channel into the lake to top the lake up and keep it full, and then they'd draw the water out of the lake for irrigation as required. And they decided they don't want to use it anymore, and that's fine, they're allowed to do that. That's a business decision that they've had to make. But what does it mean for Greens Lake? Well, it means it's dying a slow death. Now, at the moment, it looks like it's got a lot of water in it, but it hasn't. To put it into perspective, that's the high water mark right up there. I'm actually right down well within the lake. Now, my friend Rowan from RKJ Fishing a couple of years ago, he paddled his kayak, I think it was last year, way out to the middle there. Would have been before winter last year, so nearly 18 months ago. And the deepest spot that he found was just on 2 metres, and the lake's dropped probably a metre or so since then. So, at a guess, I reckon you'd be hard pressed to find any more than a metre or a metre 20 of water out there at the moment. So while it looks huge, it's not huge. Now, it's being decommissioned. It's being left to fend for itself, and it's going to dry up. The fish are going to die, and it's not going to be a fishery for us licensed Victorian fishermen anymore. And personally, I think that really sucks, because it is a lovely place and it was a great redfin fishery, and Victorian Fisheries Authority invested a lot of money into this lake. They stocked it with Murray cod and golden perch quite heavily for years, only to have the lake decommissioned. Now, online I see people complaining about this lake being decommissioned. Before I go any further, I just want to apologise for the wind noise. It's the nature of this spot, it's always quite windy. But anyway, online I see people complaining about Greens Lake being decommissioned, and I don't blame them for complaining. But the thing is, some of those people blame fisheries and ask fisheries, what are you doing about it? Fisheries have been netting a lot of fish out of here lately and relocating them to other waterways to save them. And when they share their happy success stories of the fish that they've taken out, and some of them have been quite large Murray cod, people say, why are you letting it dry up in the first place? Well, it's not fisheries that are doing it. Fisheries Victoria don't want this drained any more than us fishermen do. They've invested a lot of money into this lake with fish stocking without realising that it was going to be decommissioned. They don't want it drained. We don't want it drained. So everybody complaining, what have you actually done to prevent this from drying up? I'll tell you what I've done. I sent emails to ministers. I sent an email to the Honourable Melissa Horn, the Minister for Fishing and Boating. I sent one to the Honourable Lisa Neville, the Minister for Water and Police, although she may have retired, I'm not sure. And I sent one to the Honourable Daniel Andrews, our Premier. I sent 3 letters to our honourable politicians, and I said to them in that email, I've done a calculation. Greens Lake, when it's full, when it's right up to the top there and it's flooding out over all those paddocks over the back, when it's full, it holds 32,000 megalitres. 32,000. Lake Eildon, when it's full, holds 3.3 million megalitres. So what that means is that when Greens Lake is full, that is less than 1% of Lake Eildon's capacity, which is where the water comes from for this lake. It comes out of the channels via the Waranga Basin, and it gets pumped out of the channels into here. So this is Lake Eildon water. So I sent them an email and I said, is it possible that we could get 0.5 of 1% of Lake Eildon every 3 years, just to half fill this, and in those 3 years it'll probably evaporate from half down to about from 50% down to 30% sort of thing, and then they can keep it topped up. 0.5 of 1% of Lake Eildon every 3 years will ensure that the Greens Lake is a viable recreational fishery, an amazing public campsite over there with good amenities. It's just a great place for people to go. 0.5% of Lake Eildon's capacity, half of 1% every 3 years. And you know what they said? They said nothing, because not one of them even replied to my email, and that was over 12 months ago. That's our taxpayers at work. How much do they care about our fishing? Well, you need to ask, don't you?